the only person on that Freedom March that day with any public profile at all at the time was John Ruddick, well known in Sydney political circles as a libertarian reformer. He tweeted a few videos on the day about how much fun it was to be on the march, and I can confirm that. It was, in fact, one of the most multicultural and pleasant and happy and joyous occasions I'd been to, certainly since the start of the lockdown, but in Sydney for years. It was a really fun experience, and everyone was getting on with each other. We'd come from all over Sydney just to defend our freedom. Anyway, Ruddick's tweets sparked an avalanche of hatred towards him. Former Channel 10 reporter Pawle said Ruddick would be, quote, probably on a ventilator within a week. Of course, this event was being dubbed a super spreader event. And Zali Steggall, his own federal MP from the seat of Warringah, told him not to return to the electorate and advised her brainwashed supporters to, quote, name, shame and fine anyone identified from the march. When these idiots test positive, they are on their own, unquote. Very nice, Zali. How highly you think of your fellow citizens. The march was the biggest public gathering since the start of the lockdown in Sydney, and it was dubbed by idiotic politicians as a super spreader event. These politicians weren't just drunk on power, they were higher than Keith Richards in a Burmese opium den. New South Wales Health Minister or Health official Kerry Chant had only that week told us not to talk to our neighbours should we see them at the shops, and Health Minister Brad Hazzard said COVID was, quote, the most potent virus we've had probably on Earth, unquote. Bit alarming. Premier Gladys Berejiklian said, we should only leave the house if we really have to. Oh, we had to, all right, Gladys. The freedoms previous generations died fighting and defending for were on the line. And as anyone with half a brain knew, we were safer from viruses outdoors than we were indoors, which is where our overlords, ironically, wanted us to be. The next 3 weeks were pretty amusing because idiotic journalists rocked up to those daily news conferences where the latest inflated contagion and casualty figures were being robotically delivered by Kerry Chant and asked her if any of the latest cases could be traced back to the Freedom March super spreader event. John Ruddick was watching all this from home and panicking. He thought that they'd make up a connection, that they'd connect the Freedom March to some of the latest statistics. After all, why wouldn't they? Most of the other statistics were fictional. But to their credit, Ruddick told me today, they didn't. Good on him. But he did cop more than his share of vitriol. Ruddick's kids were barred from their North Sydney primary school for 2 months. Strangers who got their hands on his phone number would call him and abuse him almost daily for infecting their suburb. And of course, the cops knocked on his door and issued him with a $1,000 fine. All this fortified Ruddick's determination to become an elected Member of Parliament with the Liberal Democrats, now known as the Libertarian Party, a goal he achieved at the last New South Wales state election in March this year. Ruddick is one of the few politicians in the entire country calling for a royal commission into the COVID and vaccine lunacy.